This is my first time speaking about this, and I'm curious to learn more about my situation. So, when I was 13, I was in a really dark place, cutting, messing with Satanism, etc. I was always suspicious of the information out there, on spirituality though, so I never held what I knew to much truth. My family has always had their experiences and abilities. My mom was an empath and could dream about events that would eventually happen. My brother who could see and dream about spirits in the house. I never knew what my thing was, but my mom always warned me about messing with anything evil since I'm an energetic beacon. I didn't listen and got a Ouija board for Christmas. I was in a terrible depression and was all around the perfect feeding ground for hungry spirits. For a week, nothing was happening. I was playing alone and kept rushing the process and doing literally everything wrong. Eventually, I tried to actually follow the directions and call out. I waited for a second after doing this. The room got so cold, it sounded like I put AirPods in and put the noise-canceling option on, and heard loud ringing. Suddenly, the planche moved to yes. It was way more than I was prepared for, so I freaked out and closed the session without anything but an okay goodbye. That pissed the spirit off. It got so cold and the hair on my body immediately stood up. I looked to my mirror across the room and I see this goat-legged figure with wings and squinted eyes lurching towards me, open-armed. I ran out and tried to tell my father and stepmom what happened. They all laughed and said I was being ridiculous. The next few days I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. I was constantly crying and felt sick to the stomach. My father said he didn't believe that type of shit, but he still made me take the board home to my mother with me when I left. My mom immediately felt something off. I was too afraid to tell her the truth, so I kept it a secret. That entire week, we all had strange dreams about a woman with an unhinged jaw, screaming over us, with sound coming out, waking up at the same time at night, and dogs running from me, or hiding under furniture when I entered the room. My mom threw so many things out of the house that had any sort of energy tied to it to get rid of it. After a fight about why I haven't eaten in a week, I fessed up and brought the board to them and explained everything. My mom wasn't mad, more relieved since she knew how to fix it. From there, she set up a safe environment to exorcise me, poured salt around me and the board, candles, holy water, the whole thing. Everyone left the house except for me and my stepdad. We both held our hands on the planche, and the spirit was already going crazy, trying to move off the board, counting backwards, going to letters, all of it. He kept saying to leave our house and to leave me alone. Eventually it stopped after doing this for 5 minutes. In the silence, waiting for a sign, my stomach rumbled, so loud. I felt a type of hunger I never felt before, and devoured an entire large stuffed crust pizza. My stomach looked disgustingly bloated for my 13-year-old body. I hadn't eaten in almost 2 weeks, but since then, I've never felt the same. My mom said that entire week she couldn't feel my presence, like I was muted. I've always wondered if it ate a part of me, or if it still follows me around. Since that incident, I threw out all of my creepy things, or anything that reminded me of the incident. I converted to Wicca and have been consistently practicing purification rituals and clean energy practice. Still though, when I'm really depressed, I see a shadow figure in the corner of my eye, or in a corner of a dark room. It could be my paranoia, but what do you guys think?
So this happened on the 10th of May. I felt the need to share this story on this sub. I'm by no means a writer. English isn't my first language, but I'll try to express the situation as best I can. So 2 weeks ago Thursday, I went to bed as usual. I was going to visit my girlfriend the following day. Due to her nature of her work, we only see each other on weekends. And I decided to get into bed early and get some rest before the long drive the next day. I remember waking up and seeing this man standing over my bed wearing black clothing just staring at me. I've had this vision before the night my aunt died. The first time, however, I saw him in my dream, and he was standing at the end of the hallway. I remember screaming in my sleep and my brother running into my room to comforting me. I was 15 at the time. This time, though, 10 years later, he was standing on the right side of my bed staring at me. I looked at him in the corner of my eye, and I remember feeling annoyed, kind of like, not this shit again. I closed my eyes and went back to sleep. I woke up maybe an hour later feeling a bit paranoid, but ultimately brushed it off and decided to jump in the shower and get ready for the drive. After I showed, I went into my parents' room to say goodbye to my dad and let him know that I was on my way to pick up my girlfriend. I opened the room door and I heard my dad praying. I thought that's kind of weird, but I hugged him and went on my way. The drive itself was long. It takes about 2 hours to get to my girlfriend from where I live, and what made it worse was the fact that it was pouring rain. As I got closer to my destination, I texted my girlfriend notifying her that I'll be there in approximately 30 minutes. That was the last text I sent her, before it crashed my car, totaling it in the process. The crash itself was pretty brutal. I remember driving in the fast lane. Visibility was low, and I see this car standing in the fast lane. I stopped my vehicle, turned on my hazards, and looked in the rearview mirror. I saw a white pickup truck approaching me, and I instinctively knew that he wasn't going to stop in time. I turned left, but it was too late. I felt him hit the rear, and my car lifted off the ground, spinning to the left and landing in a ditch. I'm lucky to have only sustained a concussion. Dazed out of my mind, I kind of stumbled out of the car and assessed the situation. I called my dad, informing him as to what has happened. Now, the weird part about this is, a week prior I had this urge to go to church with my mother. I haven't been to church in almost 8 years. My dad told me that the morning of my crash, he too had a dream. In his dream, he said that his grandmother complained of having severe pain and that he should pray for her pain to go away. I've always been a skeptic, but I think I believe now. I haven't been mentally the best since the accident. I've been sleeping with my room light on ever since the accident. I'm shit scared, honestly. I don't know if I will get downvoted, but I just felt that I should share this story.
I felt I was guided to talk here about my experience with possession. I'm not sure where to start with all of this, but I feel that people need to be warned that there are things in this world that are very dangerous that they should be aware of. One of those is possession by demons, because that is what happened to me. I never believed in demons before this happened. My experience of the Course had only been with the Blue Fit book that doesn't mention possession at all. But I have learned that demons are actually a reality that people should be aware of. Now, I know that in the Bible, when it talks about Jesus casting demons out of people, that it really happened. I'm not really sure how it started, but somehow I think I opened myself up to possession by inviting spirits to use me to give messages. At the time, I had read a book about a person that was receiving a message from a deceased spirit and was giving them a spiritual message. I just wanted to do something like that. So I told the spirits they could use me if they wanted. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I think now it was very dangerous what I did. Now, the Course says that experiencers of type 3 possession are vulnerable to psychosis, and that has been my experience as I've had psychotic episodes. But it is also more than just mental illness, as there is the possession element involved. So, 1 year I had stopped meds to try to work on what I thought I was being guided to do by God. I slipped into a psychosis and had something talking through me that I thought was the Holy Spirit, but was actually not. Also, it was able to move my body, as if an invisible force were able to move me around. I was very confused during that time because I legitimately thought that all of this was spirit and that it was good. It was not. Evil things happened, and the effects are still with me. A demon attached itself to me, and to this day, I am still not free of it. Things were sexual with it, but at the time I had no idea that it was a demon. I genuinely thought it was the spirit of someone I had met. The other day, I asked the Holy Spirit to make a decision for me, and to please have me to do what he decides. When I did that, a bad voice came through that wanted to hurt me, and the fear of possession came in. Then I heard a voice that told me because I had asked the Holy Spirit to actually do it for me, that I had opened myself up to spirit possession. Please be aware of this. Do not ask him to take possession of you, because evil things can use this against you, even though you ask the Holy Spirit. To the best of my understanding, Christ control just applies to miracles and happen automatically. Just ask him to decide not to possess. I've had very bad experiences because of everything that has happened, and I don't want anyone to go through what I went through, so I hope this helps someone. Please be aware there are spiritual dangers in this world.
Part of the story is secondhand, so I may get some details wrong. My husband works nights and sleeps during the day. We have a young baby, under a year, and he's been sleeping very poorly lately, coupled with months of 70-hour work weeks. Yesterday I decided to take our baby out for the day so he could get some long overdue, unbroken rest. To my surprise, he called me about 5 hours after he had gone to bed, telling me he had woken up from a horrible dream and he couldn't sleep, it was so bad. He described this nightmare, and it touched on every single fear, anxiety, guilt, and shame that he carries with him day to day. The dream ended with me driving us into a tree and killing our baby in the process. He has severe anxiety when anyone other than him drives. You could not personally orchestrate a more triggering dream for him if you tried. In the briefest moment after he woke up, he got the flashing image in his mind of a woman leaning over him in bed. She had no face except for a gaping mouth of sharp, jagged fangs. It was so visceral that he laid there with his eyes shut, refusing to roll over or look over his shoulder. It was not sleep paralysis, I don't think, because he didn't physically see her, he just pictured her in his mind. And he was not paralyzed, he could move, he just didn't. Tonight we are all in the bedroom, and we have been for about an hour, after having been gone for the majority of the afternoon. As we're laying there talking, our baby's toy goes off in the other room. No one had touched this toy for hours, so it was not the noise some toys make to get the baby's attention again if they haven't interacted with it in a few minutes. Also, it didn't do a normal pre-recorded greeting. When you first touch it, it says, "Hug me." Then goes into a musical number. If you press or rotate it, it will cycle through its messages. Tonight, it just said, "Hug me, hug me, hug me, hug me, hug me." It didn't stop, and it would throw in an occasional giggle before going back into its chorus of "Hug me." This is not even remotely close to something the pre-recorded messages should be able to cycle through, since there are not specific knobs for each noise, so you can't control what happens next. It just goes one after another. My husband had to get out of bed. It's his day off, so has been catching up on sleep where he can get it, to turn it off manually, so this went on for about 3 minutes nonstop. I have to wonder if the two events are related. Is the faceless woman a product of sleep deprivation and an overworked mind? Or is she a being that alters your dreams to torment the vulnerable when their defenses are down? Could she influence physical objects and cause electronics to act up? Or is just a battery running low causing the system to go haywire? Despite trying to rationalize these events, I can't help but feel a little spooked. I'm terrified of the idea of sleep paralysis and shadow people.